Hey guys, welcome into Locky Top Sports. This is the Tennessee Texas A&M reaction show. Not a lot to react on Tennessee's side. This was an abysmal game overall for the Vols tonight, going on the road to College Station to take on the Aggies of Texas A&M. Coming into the game, Texas A&M was sitting at 14-8 on the year. Terrible Ken Palm ranking. I think they were basically in the top 50. I think they were sitting right at 50. And Tennessee came in and just laid an absolute egg. It was a complete disaster from start to finish. There was no juice. Everybody looked like they had somewhere else they would rather be tonight. Just a lot of empty possessions, long scoring droughts, foul troubles for a lot of our guards. And we just couldn't get anything going. I mean, Naveen, let me get your thoughts. I need a little time to compose myself after watching that shit show that we saw with Tennessee tonight. Embarrassed, to say the least. We shouldn't have went on the road and laid an egg like that. So just give me your thoughts, and then Andy, you can go in after Naveen, and then I'll bring it off the top rope on where we go moving forward.
Yeah, it seemed like we didn't want it as much as them. The effort was not there defensively today. Obviously, Texas A&M shot really well, and you know when you're playing a team that shoots that well from three, normally they don't, but versus us today they did. Couple people to shout out, unfortunately not from Tennessee, but from Texas A&M. Incredible rebounding performance by Garcia today. They call him the Dominican Dennis Rodman, and he really played like it today. 17 rebounds. Outside of that, they had Radford and Taylor, who we kind of like talked to last time about players to watch, and watch out. We got wrecked by them, man. Really poor performance on guarding on the perimeter. Like that should be one of our strengths. It's not like either Radford or Taylor are super huge guards, but we should match up with them, with Santee, with Ziegler, with the other guards. And it didn't hit for us today. We lost out on a lot of screens. I noticed like they were going, Tennessee was going under on the screens where I think they should have been going over, closed out the spacing that A&M had. And, you can't really beat a team when they're shooting their career high from three. And yeah, I just worry about this team, man. Like, we were on a high last week. Even this week, we're on a high, beating tough teams. Kentucky in Rupp. Kentucky lost again. We wonder how good of a win that was, really, now in retrospect, right? Like, obviously it's a mental barrier to beat Kentucky, but man, like, should we celebrate that? Beating up on a little kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of thing is what I thought about today's matchup. Andy, your thoughts?
Thanks, Naveen. It couldn't have went any worse, both in terms of the result, also the surrounding situations. Just looking at the ranked opponents, with Carolina dropping a game and Kansas dropping a game earlier this week, Tennessee had a chance to sort of move up in the ranks if they just took care of the business, but that wasn't the case, right? And now, not only did they get their ass kicked in a conference away game, but also the opponents the Tennessee has beaten this year, also they all struggled this weekend. So, namely Wisconsin just lost to Rutgers, losing 4 in a row. And, there's a lot of people questioning, is Wisconsin really a good team? Or were they just kind of hyped and overrated? And then another team that Tennessee has beaten that's struggling, Illinois. And, me personally, I picked Illinois to lose to Michigan State. But, that being said, it feels like every minute, all of our quote unquote quality wins are sort of being downgraded. Illinois, Wisconsin, and now Kentucky also losing to Gonzaga at home for the and it's like the first time they've lost back to back home games in so long. So it feels like were we sort of riding in a high off of a phantom rankings that really wasn't an accurate reflection of how good these teams are. And after watching tonight's game, like it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue against that. To say, hey, look, like this Tennessee team, like do they have it? They show up. When they show up, it's great. But also when they don't, it's absolutely miserable. They're displaying basically everything a team can do to lose the game, lose the turnover battle, lose the rebounding battle, give up the advantage in offensive rebounding, miss free throws, throw some bricks from the field, from the 3-pointer, whatever it is, miss all of the assignments from the switches, screens. Absolutely a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, to your point about free throws, we shot 60% free throws tonight, 15 to 25. That's never going to get the job done. Our field goal percentage from the floor tonight was abysmal. It was 37.1%. That's not going to beat anybody. And then we were 8 for 29 from 3-point line for 27%. We got obviously dominated on the boards. And it wasn't even close, man. It wasn't even close. And you see the same cast of characters continue to no-show. I think more of the big offensive explosion that you saw Triple J have last week, that's more just an aberration than it is anything. I don't think that he's, obviously not going to give us anything consistently. I think Triple J had 4 fucking points tonight. And he played a lot of minutes. Vescovy, same, 5 points. I don't know how Dalton Connect wound up with 22 points tonight. He went to the bench in the second half with his 4th foul at the 10:30 mark in the second half. Yeah, Rick Barnes. I saw Jordan Gainey actually have to separate the two of them. Rick and Dalton was going at each other pretty hard there right before he picked up his 4th foul when he drove the lane. He should have passed the ball because he had like 5 dudes literally all over him in the lane. He had nowhere to go. So he should have hit the outlet pass to someone, but didn't do it. And Rick made him sit literally. It was about 8 minutes of game time and probably about 35 to 40 actual live minutes. So the guy came in. I thought he was. I was talking to my wife. I said, Kayla, he's going to come in and be absolutely ice cold. Sitting there that long. And then he came in and he drains 2 back-to-back threes to kind of cut it to. I think it was 12 at the time. I think that's the lowest we got. The bleeding to stop was 12 points there, but we had no answer. We had absolutely no answer for anybody that was wearing maroon tonight, especially by the name of Tyrese Radford or Wade Taylor IV. I said yesterday in the pod that Wade Taylor IV would be the only person that we needed to worry about, but I didn't expect no one on Tennessee's side to no-show in the way that they did tonight. A lot of the same from Jonas Adu, soft as fuck down low, just getting bodied by everybody with a pulse down there. It's the biggest waist of almost 7 feet that I've ever seen in college basketball. So, hey man, get it together. We need you. I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm talking to you, Jonas, but we need a lot more production coming out of you, especially the last few games. It's just been like, what are you doing? He's backdoored some couple double doubles. But those are just kind of, I think, red herrings in a sense that he just backdoors those in garbage time. So just barely eclipsing the 10-point mark. But without, without his production down low and just getting bodied on the boards, like Tennessee's not going to have the season that I predicted last night if we continue to see the performances from our bigs down low like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Josh, like, do you think Rick Barnes is doing good enough job adjusting to what's happening during the game? Like,
I've never been a big fan of the way Rick does, any type of in-game adjustments. Especially the way that he just sends someone to the bench as soon as they get a foul. Like they get 2 fouls in the first half, you're going there, you're going to sit there until the second half. And I've just never been a big fan of that. I think he's overly critical at times. But no, to answer your question, I don't think he's doing a good job. I mean, how do you sit Dalton that long? I know he's got 4 fouls, but I think Dalton Connect's got the swing right now, or the pull, whatever you want, like whatever adjective you want to use, to being like one of the top players in college basketball. They're going to let that kid go in there and play. He's going to get away with a little bit more on that last foul that he has to give from the officials, just because of, who he's played himself into be and the type of caricature that he is in college basketball right now. So they're not going to be so quick on the whistle. Now, I will say Pat Adams did an absolutely terrible job tonight officiating. And I'm not just saying that because, Cheeks got clapped as hard as they did by A&M. But, I mean, you had Buzz Williams, like, going out to the middle of the court, waving his arms like a fucking wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, calling timeout. That's just unsat, man. You got to tee him up there. And then the fact that Tennessee was in the bonus, Texas A&M was in the bonus, and Tennessee had put them in the bonus with 9 minutes and 45 seconds left in the second half. I mean, the whistle was quick, and there was a lot of inconsistencies with the aggressiveness that they were allowing both teams to play with throughout the game. They set a bad precedence in the first half, and then they wanted to get really happy with the whistle there at the start of the second. And that's how Dalton got in as much foul trouble as he did.
Let's go to Andy. Like, what do you think Rick can do better? What's he doing wrong? How can we adjust better half to half?
I don't want to sound like an ungrateful bastard here, because Tennessee basketball sort of, being able to hang around consistently, being ranked around, anywhere between 1 to 20. That wasn't the norm when I first sort of was getting accustomed to the sport and the atmosphere, other than some of the Chris Lofton era. That being said, and I give a lot of credit to Rick Barnes. He's definitely built the program. Looking at like last 10 years or so, right? Like there were definitely times Tennessee were ranked number 1 in the country, beating teams like Gonzaga and so on, beating Kentucky in the SEC tournament, which all of us that are on the podcast were personally there for. Great memories. That being said, we always consistently fell short in the tournament, and tonight's game just reminded me of exactly how it would play out in like a second game or like a third game.
Yeah, man, it's
like
just
a second round.
It's just wash, rinse, repeat. When we get into the middle part of February under all these Rick Barnes teams, it's like we always shit the fucking bed every single time, and then we go like on some type of losing streak to close it out. 2 or 3 games to end it there at March. I highly believe that's probably what's going to happen again. We're probably going to lose to Bama. We're probably going to lose to Auburn, and we'll probably lose to Kentucky. We should go ahead and win the next 3 or 4 games that we have coming up. But as soon as those scrubs are kind of out of the way, and I thought Texas A&M was one of those. Yeah, and we also have South Carolina in there too. But I know that Texas A&M is probably going to be a tournament team. But yeah, man, it's exhausting to watch Tennessee do the same shit year in, year out. Yeah, I'm grateful for what Rick's done, but what has he done for me lately? He's won the SEC title. Cool, great. That was awesome, because we hadn't done it since like the 60s or the 70s or whatever. But like, come on, man, like Where
when
it
you look
matters,
at
he's doing something in March.
it's like the Jeff Fisher and the Rams, right? Okay, you have a coach that's capable of going like 8-8 every year, kind of like mediocre or whatever. And sometimes it's while you're grateful that your coach can navigate through and get you some wins, sometimes you just have to make the moves. And similarly here, I think I'm not discounting that the fact that Rick Barnes was able to make Tennessee a very attractive place even before NIL, right? Like just like the making a very solid program where players want to come and play for this coach, and even though he hasn't had a lot of success in the tournament, like to be fair, March Madness, the format is very tough. One game and that's it. That type of situation is very tough. But that being said, the statistically speaking, when you look at his resume, and I think Naveen brought up a good point earlier. Is he a good in-game adjustment coach? I don't think so. I think he's generally speaking a very good XNO coach, and he does fine job in recruiting, and he keeps his guys in check. So like keeping players out of trouble and getting them to buy in on the principles of what the team's trying to do. I think that he's doing a fantastic job there. But that being said, is he a good in-game adjustment coach? I don't think so. I've not really seen it, throughout the years, and he's been here for what, almost 9-10 years now. And
Yeah, 2015 was his first year. Yeah.
Yeah, and most he's been to is Sweet 16, and I was personally at the at the scene where we fell short of advancing to Elite Eight against FAU, and Josh was there for the game against Purdue. It's a sad story, and a lot of the commonalities there, when you think about it, is we didn't do anything once the opponent came out with a game plan. Like you could clearly see how they're sort of screening for their guys to get open and hustling hard, whatever, and getting the timeouts when they're going on a run and things like that. And I feel like he just doesn't have that feel for it, and that's okay. Like not everyone can be perfect in every aspect of coaching. You look at Saban, you look at Jim Harbaugh, they left. You saw Chip Kelly. He just accepted a job as Ohio State's offensive coordinator instead of being a head coach. And you have to wonder, why is that? Like, he's just tired of the fact that there's so many things that he has to do as a head coach, like recruiting, dealing with these like 16, 17-year-olds, versus when he's an offensive coordinator, he can just focus on one thing. So I want to extend the same kind of courtesy to Rick Barnes and say, hey, look, like he's a great coach, but no one can be like perfect at every aspect of coaching, especially in the days of NIL. So I get it. And I'm not, saying that he's absolutely dog shit, because he's not. He's gotten us to a great spot. A couple of, signature wins that we all remember. We had a great time attending. A couple of great spots in the rankings. But that being said, the losses, they all have the same fucking patterns. It's you go through the offensive drought, you go through defensive collapses, the coach doesn't call a timeout, and it just happens for like 8 minutes on the court where we're in a scoring drought. The opponent goes on a 12-0 run, and finally on a dead ball, we go into a TV timeout just because like TV timeout has to happen. And then we look, it's like, oh wow, like really? Like you're just running these guys over and over and over again, and they're not even doing it. They're not cutting. They're not setting screens or anything. They're not trying. So I feel like that somebody has to be accountable for, and without being too harsh, I think he deserves some of the blame. I mean, there's a reason why he is one of the most respected coaches in terms of the resume and the winning percentages and the total wins. At the same time, his March resume doesn't stack up.
Yeah, so I got some points here. You talked about the NFL. You made a comparison to Jeff Fisher. Like, can we compare him to the fucking Cowboys, guys? Like 12-4, 11.
Yeah, definitely Cowboys is a better comparison there. I agree.
In the regular season, it looks good. It's like
regular season Rick, baby.
Yeah, it looks like one of those salvage cars, that they just give a new paint job. It's like, oh shit, this looks fire. And then, and then you go and check the Carfax, and the facts don't line up. And I think that's really what we're seeing here, guys. Like, we're seeing a guy who, had Kevin Durant, didn't make it to the finals. Only made it really with TJ Ford in 01-02. Now he has another opportunity. He has a golden opportunity with Dalton Connect. Things don't fall out of the sky for you like Dalton and Connect very often. We've never had really a scorer like him. But I just worry about this team, man. Like, I worry about Rick Barnes because I don't think, when he gets into those clutch moments, like when he gets into playoffs, I just don't think that he shows up with and is really at a disadvantage with how he builds his teams. I think, like, obviously we have a defensive prowess. We were ranked 5 on defense, but I just wonder, like, are we playing rank 5 defense every game? I don't think so. We play it at home, and I think that's all well and good, but we don't play it on the road. We lost to South Carolina at home. They out-physicaled us. Like, when you see a pack of dogs in front of Rick Barnes, the dogs are going to win. So that's my take here. Like, I just don't think that he has it, and I think his seat should be getting a little bit warm. 9 years.
It's definitely warming up.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's warming
I'm
up,
freaking
guys.
sick and tired of seeing the same shit every year by Tennessee being coached by Rick Barnes, because this is stupid that we can't go out there and play a unranked team in league play and win a game. Like, the seat's got to get hot. Some accountability's got to be had. We're too senior on this team, right? You want to talk about getting somebody in from the transfer portal like Dalton Connect, like we have. You got to take advantage when you have a generational talent like that on your team, and not have people like Jonas Seydoux, Santi, freaking Triple J, just no showing consistently and blowing it every single year. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, that sums it up, guys. Like, it's not pretty. We were riding a high. We were talking about, okay, 1 seed, 2 seed. 1 seed or 2 seed is not going to matter when you play physical guards. We saw it. 16 seeds can beat 1s now. 15 can beat 2. 14 can beat 3. Like, you're not safe, guys. Like, and again, what do you play this game for? If you want to be considered an elite basketball program, Andy, I do disagree with you there. That, like, you gotta. I understand you gotta respect his ability to get to the tournament and always be a high seed. But man, like, I don't think you gotta respect. I don't think you gotta respect him for his performances with good teams.
Regular season don't matter, man. Regular season don't matter. March matters.
March matters, and those are my thoughts. Andy, I think you have some stats, so let's see.
Yeah, so you guys bring up a really good point, and I think you're right. Cowboys are like a perfect analogy there, right? And in some ways, maybe you can even argue like the Clippers or even someone like Doc Rivers, who has a reputation for kind of getting the team to where they need to be, but when it comes, do or die, choke away. So I thought this was interesting. So this is without including Tennessee. Earlier in the day, that stat was posted on Twitter that this year, of all the games that AP top 25 ranked team were playing unranked team, in an away game, this year the win percentage for the home team, so the unranked home team, is 52.5%. And obviously it's going to go up because A&M just beat the shit out of us, right? But like, think about that, and you look at the last 15 years, the highest it's ever been is 38.1%. And normally the average is around like 32% or so. So generally speaking, when a ranked team comes to town, they're gonna win because they're the better team, and they're ranked for a reason. And I think we're seeing some like disparity there, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, with the COVID seniors sticking around, and you can almost argue like someone who's been training under a semi-professional setting longer. It does have an advantage over some of the raw talents that comes from high school, and they're sort of going for the one and done situation. Also, you can almost argue with the NIL. There's this like mid-level talent that weren't gonna make it to the NBA that would have typically tried to declare for the draft and might have gotten drafted in the back end of the second round, are saying, you know what, instead of doing that, let me just milk out the NIL and get paid like $3 million more. Perfect example would be like Zach Edey right here. Instead of going for the draft, he could stay for one more year, get paid whatever he's getting paid from Purdue, and just kind of delay his NBA entrance, because it's not like he has a bright future in the NBA. I mean, I hope it pans out, but at the end of the day, it's not like he's a first round pick. So I thought that was very interesting, because we're almost 3 standard deviation away from how it typically is. So ranked team going on a game, like especially in conference game, the winning percentage for the home team this year is off the charts, like 53%. That's unprecedented. Like the highest it's ever been was like 36%, and this year we're hitting at like 53%. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Very significant.
Josh, like, what do you think our path forward is? How do we get better, and how do we lock in on the road and at home? We might think that these upcoming games are easy, but maybe they're not. Like, so can you weigh in on that?
Yeah, man, I don't know if this is foreshadowing for what is to come to March. Beware the odds of March, right? Under Rick Barnes. I would say, though, there's something that has to be going on. It's another bad game, another terrible performance from Triple J and Vescovy. There has to be something going on with one, if not both of them. So I think that's the number one thing that we have to figure out. Like going forward to get better, I don't know, player development, whoever on the staff needs to go to the shrink. I don't know. Get in their heads, figure out what's going on with them, because they're obviously in some type of fog, mentally. Or
you think they're completely focused on basketball? Like you sent me a clip of them having a podcast, right?
Yeah,
I was just worried. Like,
but I don't see those guys. I see the guys like Meshack, Jonas. You don't see. I don't think I've ever seen on that podcast that we were talking about that they do at the on-campus hotel there. I've never seen any of our big-time players on that show. Like, I've never seen Dalton. I've never seen Zakai.
Yeah,
So.
I think it's Gainey runs it, and then last episode that I saw was Meshack and Adu on it. But yeah, I just wonder if these guys, they make a lot of money, man. Like, what's their incentive for trying hard every game? I think that's a little bit of a question on NIL. Like, is it too easy? Is it too easy to be an NCAA basketball player right now?
I don't know, man. I don't know that they're making a boatload of money. I think they're making enough to be comfortable. I don't think college basketball is to the level of CFB, right? Mm-hmm. College football players now, it's a completely different league that they're in. I mean, they're buying fucking Bugattis and Lambos, and got that iced out chain on their neck and stuff. So it's completely different for those guys. These cats might be in 6 figures. I doubt any of them are making 7 figures off NIL for playing men's basketball at Tennessee, right? But I will say there is a lot of things that are concerning when I look at
150K for Adu.
Yeah, he's tops.
Well, Dalton makes a lot. I don't think he's the top on the team. Let me just check.
How much does Dalton make?
Let me see.
Well, either way, I don't know that it's that because they're there to win. Not all of those guys are going to play at the next level. So this is it for them. Even though they're getting paid,
783,000 for adults.
okay. So still six figures. It's still nice, but I mean, still in the six-figure range, right? So he's not making Nico money. That's my point, right? But what I will say is, if you want to make millions, if you want to get to the seven figures, you want to go to the next level, and the only way to do that is scoring more than fucking 5 points on the road against Texas A&M, right?
Yeah, I think like Rick gets 5 stars, but I want him to play 5 games in the tournament. I don't want 5 stars.
Yeah, you know, we've gotten a couple of 5 stars, but you look at Triple J. He's a 5-star and he's a 6-year player, right? Here we go. I'm going down the rabbit hole, and Andrew's already shaking his head because he knows nothing good comes from this. But, you know, I hear people back in Knoxville, you know, because I listen to a lot of the radio shows there, and I try to keep a pulse on what the community thinks about, you know, Triple J. And they're all, you know, trying to brainwash themselves to even forget, you know, just have a lobotomy that he was even a 5-star to begin with. And just pretend he's some like 3-star. If you look, well, you know, I've heard, well, if you look at him like he's just like a 3-star, you'll be less mad. No, I'm not less mad because I know what the reality is. The guy was a 5-star. He was brought here to play like that. And we wasted another scholarship on him. You know, like, I think one of the best things that could have came out of this past offseason that didn't come to fruition was Rick Barnes telling him, hey, man, it's not you, it's us. We're done with you, right? You're not a contributor. You scored 26 against Kentucky. Now, we know that obviously that was a great performance and everything. It was his career high for Triple J. Love to see that happen for him, and love to see him as a 6-year senior win at Rupp again. Cool. All good parts of, you know, his college career and his story. But hey, man, what else have you done?
What about the other games?
Yeah, exactly. What did you do tonight? Nothing. You just no-show. And you're looking at a guy that's been the DNA and kind of the threads and foundation of this basketball program for the last 6 years. Man, like, this is your legacy. Like, just do something. You know, like the meme with the guy that's got the stick and it's poking whatever's dead, and it's like, hey, do something. That's me to Triple J right now. I need you to be who we thought you were. And whatever you're going through, and you know, I'm piling on Triple J, but there's a lot of blame to go around. Santiago Vescovi, probably one of the biggest offenders there is. I've been super critical on him all year long, but it's like, hey, man, like, I'll be honest with you. I turned the channel at halftime tonight. I started watching the Hallmark Channel. If that tells you how entertained I was by this basketball game tonight, I just started watching, you know, a flick with my wife over on Hallmark. Like, that's my level of interest based off of what my 5-star 6-year senior, my 5-star 5th-year guy Santi was producing, because I was watching, you know, my all-star fouling out because he's trying everything he can to produce tonight, and you know, he just had no supporting cast. Zakai was dropping dimes in there left and right, but we couldn't finish. We would get to the rim and couldn't finish consistently all night long. And I thought that was going to be an A&M problem. You know, they're dead last in the league for finishing around the rim. They finished on us all night because they literally were dropping their nut sacks, tomahawk dunking on our foreheads in the paint consistently all night long. And nobody had an answer for it. Nobody wanted any of that. Right?
Yeah.
And we couldn't stop it.
Yeah,
they just kept giving it to us and giving it to us and giving it to us.
Couldn't stop a nosebleed tonight, guys. Like,
no,
I just think that we got to go back to our mentality and our defense, right? Rick Barnes, you know, supposed to have elite defenses.
Well, that's our identity, and we're in the middle of a fucking identity crisis right now because we don't know how to play defense.
Yeah, I think that's the number one problem. Like, even versus Kentucky, right? Like, they can score. Tennessee should have locked them up to 70, guys. They scored 92 points on us, right? Like, let's not forget that.
Yeah. How you gonna let a freshman drop like 35 on you, right? Like, it's unacceptable.
No pride there. right? Defense is like a pride thing on top of effort and conditioning and those types of things. I just don't see the pride. Like that's my point with the NIL discussion before. Is it like, are you proud of doing your job every day, or are you just there to collect a check, or are you just there to
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, back to your original question. I'll tell you what tonight means, and I don't know what we can do to fix this based off of me talking about our identity crisis, but I'm telling you, the film is out there on Tennessee. Mississippi State did it, South Carolina did it, A&M did it tonight. Hell, LSU almost did it, and when we blew that 20-point lead, right? I know it ballooned back out because things happen to get us in some good spots, but the blueprint for competing against us is out there. Straight line dribble drives with guard play, and you pound the glass. Guess what? We know that we don't have a consistent interior to play at all. Jonas, joke. Owaka, he's big, he's physical, but he doesn't produce offensively. He comes in, he comes in there, and then he gets in foul trouble. So we can't even rely on him on getting any type of defenses. Right. And we both, or all three of us, know you combine that with our inconsistent 3-point shooting, we're doomed.
Yeah.
The tape is out there. Like, that's all you have to do.
I'm just thinking about it. Like, if we consider ourselves now an elite basketball program, this should not be good enough. Right. Like this has got to cause concern with whoever is running, really running the team. Is it, should it be Rick Barnes in the future? That's a question. Should it be that we, our strategy for building our teams is way off? Like, I noticed during the game, like, Rick went back to that small ball lineup and just got abused by Dominican Dennis Rodman. I think there was a point in a row where he got I think like 8 or so offensive rebounds. That's disgusting, guys. Like, it's not that complicated to stay within 5 or 10 points. When you lose, we lose bad. Like we get exposed, we get into these scoring droughts, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, man, it was probably the most pathetic exhibition of basketball I've seen from a top 10 team in probably the last decade, man. I'll be honest with you. We are really good or we are extremely bad. There's really no in between. There's between our performances on either side of that spectrum. We either stink the joint up or we're smelling like roses coming out of it at the end. But Andy, man, what do we got to do to reset, refocus, and get back to kind of what we looked like about 2 weeks ago? We were reeling off 6-7 wins in a row, beating pretty consistent quad 1, quad 2 teams. What do we got to do, man? Like, this is the most frustrating season I think I've seen from Tennessee in a while because of the expectations.
Yeah, I would say, unfortunately, the losses that this team has piled up are very in line with what Rick Barnes' Tennessee team has been doing for the last X years, right? It's the typical and I gotta give credit. They do pretty well against ranked teams. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of the fact that they prep with the film sessions or whatever it is, but they always run into these teams that they should not lose, and just stink it up. And it's not just this year, right? Even looking at the tournaments, we go as an absolute favorite, and you drop games to teams like Oregon State, Michigan, Purdue, Loyola. Sure, there are some luck involved, but at the end of the day, it just seems like we're not thinking about the bread and butter. And somebody mentioned it earlier, Rick Barnes' Tennessee team. The identity. What is the identity? The identity is hustling hard on defense and really trying to sort of limit the amount of dumb mistakes and defense to offense. But that being said, it's not like they try super hard, like a lot of possessions type of offense either. So it's really like limited type of things. Like if you play defense right and you limit your opponent to a bad percentage shot, from there the team sort of tries to turn it back into the offense. But Tennessee isn't like a Golden State Warriors where they just go start jacking up shots. So what they do after those possession turnovers is really important, and I feel like they continuously fumble in that situation, and sometimes when they're behind, they try to just match it, and this is like what I hate about not only college basketball but a lot of like other sports too. Sometimes when you're in the hole, my opinion is that you have to sort of build up something. Okay, you're in a 15 point, 20 point deficit, just chop at the lead and then go for it. But I feel like a lot of teams, they go for the big shot. Oh, they just want to start shooting threes. They want to start, in football, they want to start throwing 40-yard passes. But it just leads to more empty possessions when those things don't go well. And I feel like we saw what happened tonight. And it's not just tonight, and that's what's frustrating with Rick Barnes' coach team, is that this is very predictable, and we can almost guarantee that it's gonna get we're gonna see another one of these angry podcasts reaction show before this regular season is over, and probably one during the SEC tournament, and probably one during March Madness, and that's just I feel like something that we should be improving on, but we're not improving on, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think there's something we can take into the next couple games, and that's just reestablishing the identity, going back to guarding hard on defense, and like making second effort plays. Let's not assume that our shots are going to go in, guys. We need to rebound. We're going to brick shots. We know this. We're going to, Dalton's not going to be, our dad and rescue us every single game. So we need to crash the boards. We need to take, let's take a little bit more time to understand the film study. We get beat in a consistent manner. There was no off-ball action, and they tried to play like A&M tonight. A&M has better isolation players than we do. That's a sad.
We're absolutely fucked if we play anybody that can create their own shots, especially in the guard position. We're fucked every single time.
We got.
Can I just say the 3 losses Tennessee has in the SEC at the time of the loss, all unranked, right? So it's crazy. When I feel like it's a mental thing too.
I think they think they're going to show up, and when people see that, they're going to lay down, and that's not the case because they know. They know.
Yeah, because they go beat Alabama, they go beat Kentucky, they go beat Ole Miss, whoever. But then when they go beat these unranked, when they go face these unranked teams, those are the games that we dropped, and it's really unexcusable.
Yeah, I think that really, we got to lock in. We got to make second efforts to plays. We got to, understand that, not all of our team is going to the NBA. We don't need to take NBA threes. That's another thing I noticed. Ziegler was shooting threes from Knoxville. He was shooting threes from 7 feet behind the line. And same with Triple J.
And we have the players down there, man. Yeah. You would think that have been there long enough to know if you're shooting that shit from Knoxville, you might need to be there to rebound.
Yeah, it's what Andy said is correct. Like it's the same pattern of losing. A&M, I got to give them credit. Like they were taking us deep into the game clock.
Deep.
Yeah. 5 seconds in, they're making one ISO play, and it's going in because we got nobody in the paint that they're afraid of.
No one.
So they know they'll get fouled or, they'll hit some crazy layup because nobody's going to block the shot. That's another thing.
Yeah. It's just abysmal. I mean, it's just a normal Rick Barnes game in February. We lose 3 or 4 of these inexplicable SEC games a year for no reason. But at least, hey, man, at least we have our leadership from our 12th year seniors.
Yeah, and that's in question. I think this could be.
But we definitely played ourselves out of a couple things tonight. We played ourselves out of the regular season SEC championship, and we played ourselves off the 1 seed line for sure.
Yeah. Andy, do you want to take some time to look at some other games?
Yeah. So, as unfortunate as it was for Tennessee, just kind of looking at the overall scoreboards today, a lot of exciting games today, right? Just even looking at the top 25, North Carolina barely scraping, Houston also barely scraping, Gonzaga beating Kentucky at their home court, as Josh assured us. Kentucky hasn't lost 3 in a row at their home arena. That streak was broken.
Since 66,
Very exciting.
67, big dog.
Yeah.
Back to the coal mines.
Back to the coal mines. The 25th ranked New Mexico was beaten today. And then, just overall looking at it, I feel like this year, also don't forget Wisconsin lost to Rutgers by 22. So they were 11th ranked team losing to another unranked team. So I've actually read an interesting article written by Ken Pomeroy earlier today. And he actually wrote a blog article that said, what can we make out of this phenomenon of unranked teams at home beating ranked teams? And he thought that was just kind of like nothing to concern of, like, because in his idea, in his mind, the AP rank system is bullshit. Of course, he's obviously a statistics guy, so he thinks that,
and he has his own rank,
right? So for him, it's like, oh, like I don't give a shit what AP 25 is. Like, you guys can say like this team is ranked 25, whatever. But at the end of the day, when I look at it, I rank teams based on their efficiency margin, based on the possession times score per possession, and based on that, it's not an abnormal year, which is crazy to think about, right? Like when we look at something like this happening, we're saying this hasn't happened like ever, where unranked team can beat a ranked team at home and their win percentage is 50% plus. 50% plus. Think about that. 50% plus. That is crazy. But Ken is saying, hey, the rankings are bullshit because these people don't know. They're sort of voting based on the name value. Oh, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Tennessee, North Carolina. The historic. There's some bias that goes into that. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So my point with that, Andy, is let's not get comfortable. There's teams on our ass, Duke, Arizona, all these teams that are lower than us,
we might not even make it to the 2 line. We keep fucking around.
We're gonna be close to out of the top 10, if not out of the top 10 AP wise. There's a lot of hungry teams out there that are not
right,
ranked,
because it's a second loss that we had within like a 10-day span to unranked team. I mean, South Carolina now is ranked, but they weren't ranked at the time, right? And now A&M, they might get ranked just based on the fact that they beat us.
Our AP points are not good, right? Like as you said earlier, like our quality of our wins are going down, and we're losing.
Wisconsin, Illinois, all losing. Kentucky losing.
So it's not good. Iowa State's coming. Like all these teams that are ranked lower than us, they're fucking crushing. And just look at teams we beat. Like they are now getting their stride too.
So let me ask you guys this:
Florida guys,
come Monday,
Florida,
where are we going to be?
Florida is coming, Monday? Yeah, man. We broke them. We unbroke them.
Yeah.
We smashed them back into a good basketball team.
Yeah.
Look what they did to Auburn. It was not a good day to be a top 4 team in the SEC standings.
Yeah.
I will say that.
So what do you guys think? Come Monday, where is Tennessee gonna be?
I think they'll be 9.
Yeah. No, from 9 to 11, I think they'll give him the 9 though.
Well, let me ask you another brain buster here. I'm gonna give this to Naveen. Who's the most overrated coach, Rick Barnes or John Calipari?
I think it's Rick Barnes. John Calipari produces NBA players.
They're gonna fire his ass at the
They're
end
going
of
to
this
fire
year.
him, but he still gets players to the NBA. Rick Barnes has a combination of not winning and not getting elite players in the NBA. Like, who's the best player Rick Barnes has produced for NBA? Grant Williams.
Kevin Durant.
Like in Tennessee, though, it's been 10 years. It's been 9 years, right? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
at Tennessee, it's probably Grant Williams.
Yeah, he's a bench guy on Mavs now. So
Well, he actually got traded to Charlotte on Friday, so he plays for the Hornets now.
yeah, so that's a place where players go to die. He might. I wish he had another year of eligibility or something so he could come back, but rebound. But man, like I just don't see this guy's value when you're looking for a new head coach. Like, let's say he's on the hot seat maybe this year, next year, 2 years from now. What is his value proposition for an AD? He'll get you some people. He'll get you, his next job is not going to be as good. That's my point. Like
He's probably going to retire after this, right? There's no going to a new program.
There's no
after
job
this.
after this. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Rick's he's gonna retire a Vol. I don't know how much or how far removed we are from that happening, but yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, back to the question, like Calipari, he's sucked, but he produces stars in the NBA. He might not produce, valuable talent, good defense anymore. Any of those things he doesn't care about.
If Rick Barnes was coaching Kentucky, would he be
and,
fired already?
Calipari, like on record, like
they'd have ran his ass 3 years ago, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
He said it, right? And I don't know if that was a tactic to bring the star recruits that are just looking to do 1 year and then leave, right? Because like these star recruits, do they really give a shit about Kentucky basketball or the the weight that comes with wearing that jersey and
the coal miners,
tradition and all that,
coal miners,
right? Like all they care about is, can this guy get me to the NBA as the first round pick? And I thought, at least Calipari, at least he openly admitted it. Like I think I can't remember how many years ago, but I remember he had an interview where he said, you know what, like at the end of the day, I care more about these individual players' careers than I care about giving a championship to Kentucky, which was like a controversial statement for Kentucky fans because they're all like, oh, this guy doesn't give a fuck about our program, blah blah blah. But I think at the time he was also trying to signal to the recruits like, hey, I know you guys like don't really give a fuck, but hey, come and I'll give you the spotlights, national spotlights, and I'll get you drafted. And I feel like now maybe that's changed a little bit with the NIL and all, where not the top recruits are always going to Calipari because like why would you, right? Like if you can go to another team, still get paid maybe more, and then still get drafted. So I don't know if for Kentucky, firing Cal would be the best course of action. I mean, similarly for Tennessee, I would love for Tennessee to have a plan, but realistically, like who can they hire after firing Barnes?
Jay Wright.
Bruce or Jay Wright. Those are
I'm going to take you guys on a little bit of a story here, and I know we're getting close to the hour of being live here, but and I know it's a late one, the 8 p.m.s, but So the AD at Tennessee that hired Bruce Pearl, he's good friends with Ernie Grunfeld at the time, who used to be a Tennessee basketball legend back in the 70s. He was the GM for the Milwaukee Bucks, and that's how we got Bruce, because he was at UW Milwaukee. The person that they were going to try to hire that didn't pan out, only because the Grunfeld Bruce relationship, so to speak, was Jay Wright. Jay Wright would have been Tennessee's coach had they not hired Bruce Pearl. I think it's an easy and obvious choice. Tennessee has, not for nothing, Rick Barnes has done a great job of bringing them back to be very relevant every year in and year out. And hey, man, I'd like to see him drop that CBS blazer and then put on the orange blazer to replace Rick. That'd be my choice. I think it would be a great place for Jay to come back after his departure from Villanova.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually didn't know that at all. So yeah, that sounded like an opportunity missed for sure. Yeah, we covered this disappointing day for you guys. Not really much more to talk about criticism wise. I think we hit every point. For Andy, Josh, and myself, lock your top out, follow us on socials, and let us know how we can improve the lives as well. If you're watching out there, comment, give us some feedback. So lock your top out, go Vols.